This is a 50mm f1.2 lens for Sony Full-Frame mount, and this only costs $250 US. And I know what you're thinking. This lens's image quality is probably horrible and it sucks. Well, no. Let me show you a quick montage of clips that I took with the Meike 50mm f1.2 paired with my Sony a7 IV.
Shitty car, but we hit the road. Doesn't matter where we go and destination unknown. I don't care where the motor stops, cause when I want it, then I want it. Yeah, I want it, oh I want it, let's go. Look around, where's the people at? I want a taste of the good life. Hit me with it, right now I'm in it. Cause when I want it, then I want it. Yeah, I want it, oh I want it, let's go. And I won't look back, yeah. I don't care about the bad shit back home. It's Cincinnati, baby, I just wanna let it go. Nothing matters when we're way out here. Yeah. Baby, I don't have to know your real name. I'm just addicted to the way you take the pain away. Nothing matters when we're way out here.
So as you may have seen, the image quality out of this lens is not really bad, right? So this is the 50mm f1.2 lens from Meike. So this, as I said in the beginning, is only $250 US. If you want to use the Sony G Master 51.2, it's going to cost you an eye-watering price of $1,900 US. And that is a lot of money to drop on a lens. So the way that Meike was able to do this is that this is a full manual lens, which means there are no electrical contacts on the lens mount. So you cannot use autofocus with this lens. This is a full manual lens. And I just want to let you know this because I don't want you to worry when you do grab this lens and you do buy it and you put it on your camera and it's not working. Just remember that this is a full manual lens. So with that out of the way, let's talk about 5 things that I absolutely love about the Meike 50mm f1.2. So the first reason is the elephant in the room, which is the f1.2 aperture. Imagine having an aperture this big. It will allow you to just obliterate the background. So this allows you to just make everything behind your subject completely blurred out, and I mean it by blurred out. So if you are used to using a nifty 50, which is a 50mm f1.8, it's all well and dandy, right? It does the job. Wait until you try an f1.2. It will just blow your mind as to how much background separation you can get out of this lens. Whatever is behind your subject or that person you are photographing is going to be completely blurred out. So if you are in a situation wherein the background is very busy and you don't want it in your photo or your video, you can just put it on f1.2 and you're going to really have that creamy isolated background from your subject. And one more thing that comes along when using an f1.2 lens is not just the blurry background, but its low light capabilities. So a lens that opens up all the way to f1.2 is going to be a dream when you're using it outside in low light scenarios. Having an f1.2 just makes you not even have to worry about ISO anymore. You can just put this on f1.2 and you're going to have a good exposure even in close to no light situations. It just makes you not scared of shooting in low light anymore, especially with a Sony camera like an a7 IV, which has already good low light performance. So the next thing I love about the 50mm f1.2 by Meike is its build quality. This thing is built insanely well, and I mean it, because this has no electrical contacts with the camera, right? So they were able to put all of that money or all that cost into making sure that the lens is very well built. So the build quality on this is really superior to any lens that I own right now because it is full metal, everything is metal, the lens mount, the body, the focus ring, the aperture ring. The front filter thread is also fully metal, which makes sure that if you do drop it lens down first, it's not gonna right away crack the front element. The focus ring on this is absolutely amazing because they put in these little cutouts and these little grooves that if you're not looking, you can right away feel that you're holding the focus ring and not the aperture ring. One more thing I love about the focus ring is that the distance of travel to go from the closest focus point to infinity is less than 180 degrees, which means that if you were to rack focus with something that is in front of you or away from you, you don't have to rotate a full 360 degrees because I have some manual focus lenses that the focus ring is just too much. I don't like the full 360. First of all, the plane of focus is just so narrow already, so having 360 degrees of travel is just too much for me. So if I use it paired with my focus peaking with a focus ring that travels less than 180 degrees, I'm going to be able to have faster focus pulls. Now let's talk about the aperture ring. The aperture ring is amazingly declicked. It's well damped as well, which allows you to go from f1.2 to f22 in a very smooth manner. You don't have to go through some clicks because I have some manual focus lenses that have clickings on them. I don't like that because if you have a microphone on top and you're trying to go from f1.2 and you might want to stop down to f1.8, you don't want to hear that right? Your audio is definitely going to pick that up, especially if you have a microphone on top. And last but not the least, the thing I love about this lens is its character. And what do I mean by character? So I own a lot of Sony lenses, Sigma lenses, and Tamron lenses, and all of those lenses I use professionally because they're just a very safe way to get good images, right? But with this one, it has a very low contrast, which means it's gonna perform a little bit different than most of my lenses. So my favorite manual lens of all time is still my Helios 44-2. I love that lens because it has so much character in it. The swirly bokeh that you can get from it is just amazing. Plus it has low contrast as well. But the only thing about that lens that I don't like is that it only goes to f2. Whereas this lens goes up to f1.2, which means I can use this much more better in low light than my Helios 44-2. But one thing that both the Helios 44-2 and my Meike 51.2 share in common that I love are the low contrast levels. So I've been doing family portraits for the last few months, and usually I'll bring my safety lenses, like for example, my Sony 51.8, my Sigma 24-70. Those are my what I call my safety lenses, my work lenses. So after I take shots with those lenses, I'll pull out my Meike 51.2 or my Helios 44-2, and that's when I try to take creative shots because the contrast levels in camera, when you do grab the photo, I don't even need to grade it. It's already good in camera, and some people even think I slapped a LUT on it or a preset, but actually I just shot it in camera with a lens that has very low contrast. So with every review that I do on this channel, I always try to be constructive and look for cons. So the first is low contrast. So I can already see some people not liking this effect because some people actually love contrast in their shots. So it's very easy. If you do not like that part about this lens, just put back contrast in post by maybe crushing the shadows and lifting the contrast a little bit. The second thing I don't like about this lens is the flaring. Flaring to me is very artistic, especially if you use it properly, but for some shots that you actually don't want the flare to be there, it's almost impossible to avoid. So one thing I've come to accept and learn is to just accept that there will always be flaring when it comes to having cheaper lenses because the coating is not just going to be as good compared to expensive lenses. But yeah, if you're concerned about flaring, just make sure that there are no lights directly shining onto the lens. But if you're like me, actually enjoy flaring, just have it in there. It's going to add more artistic value to your end product, right? It's going to add a little bit more flavor into your shots. It's going to look like you added it in post, which is something that a lot of people actually add artificially in post. But for us, we don't need to because it's already being done by this lens. The third and last con that I have for this lens is just the f1.2 aperture, which is going to be hard to use for some people who have no experience racking focus. I can already imagine how difficult it is, especially if you're photographing or filming moving subjects. So my advice for you is that if you are to film people who are moving, let's pretend kids, you're not going to be able to use f1.2. You're going to have to stop down to maybe f4, like any other lens, right? For a fast moving subject, you're going to have to avoid using manual lenses in general. But if you practice well enough, you could be able to rack focus quick enough to make sure that your subjects are in focus when you do get the shot. This lens is definitely going to be a good lens to have in your bag because of that f1.2 and the character and the low lens that this lens brings to the picture. This is just going to separate itself from all the other lenses that you already own just because of how it is built, just how wonderful it is. I love this lens a lot. So thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.